Michael Knowles from the Daily Wire just sank to a new low. I can't express how disgusting this video is, but before I show you the clip, I want to clarify that the insanity of this video is not self-evident from the video itself. What's insane about this video is the details that I'll give you after you watch this clip. So take a look.
President Trump got a great deal on his 2 or 3 day swing through California. He was just in Beverly Hills, and I think the total he's taking out of that state is $15 million. The big takeaway here for the left, for the chattering class, is that $15 million didn't come from nowhere. We talk about California as though it's just monolithic, completely leftist. There isn't a conservative anywhere. I mean, I make jokes about it too, but there are. I mean, we used to have a group out in Los Angeles called Friends of Abe. And Friends of Abe was Friends of Abraham Lincoln. It was all the secret conservatives in Hollywood. There were a lot of us. The Obama administration tried to get our list of our members. Everyone wanted to know who they were, because if you asked anybody in the industry, they'd say, I don't know any conservatives out here. I don't meet any conservatives in Hollywood. And yet there were a lot. They just were afraid of speaking up because the left is so vindictive in California. And I suppose this is what we mean by the phrase the silent majority. Republicans, conservatives have been relying on that silent majority since Nixon, since Reagan, and all the way up through Trump. There are different names for them. The forgotten Americans, the great men and women of the middle of the country, whatever. They're out there. They're even all the way in California. I think what Trump is seeing here is he doesn't need to win California for California to help him win in 2020. You know, it's true that Hillary Clinton won California in a landslide. Trump got 4.5 million votes there. 4.5 million people voted for President Trump in 2016. That was the harder election to vote for Trump because we didn't know what he was going to do. We didn't know how he was going to behave. He's exceeded pretty much everybody's expectations. We were told the economy was going to collapse. We were told we were going to go to World War III. We were told all the terrible things would happen if Trump got elected. Instead, pretty much everything's improved. The economy's great. We have record low unemployment, relative peace abroad, renegotiated trade deals. Things are looking pretty good. How many votes is he going to get in 2020? Enough to win? Almost certainly not. But it could galvanize some support for him. 4.5 million votes in 2016. He also raised $333 million in California in 2016. That's a lot of money. What this tells you is there are Trump supporters in California.
So you're probably like, yeah, so what? Trump raked in $15 million from California. That sounds like Trump is pretty popular in California. Yeah, Michael is incredibly wrong and disingenuous about this story. Michael Knowles intentionally portrayed Trump as this person who raised money from all these millions of conservatives in California. Here's the problem with the story. That $15 million was not raised by small donors. It wasn't raised by 4.5 million people. In fact, Trump spent his entire time in California at rich, big donor fundraisers and private events. So instead of sharing that fact, Michael Knowles decides to convince his audience that Trump's ability to raise $15 million reflects his popularity in California. Yeah, that's wrong for so many reasons. But let me give you all the details about these events before we get into my explanation of how low Michael Knowles is actually going here. According to Fox News, Trump started off his trip with a $3 million Bay Area luncheon. And then Trump went to a $5 million dinner at some real estate tycoon's house. He raised $5 million from one person. One. So by Michael Knowles' logic, that means there's one Republican in California. 4.5 million. That's so disingenuous. That's so disingenuous. He then went, and this is the next day, he then went to 2 fundraising events, raising $7 million. These are not events that you can go to. You need an invitation to this event. You need to be rich to attend this event. Only a handful of individuals donated to Trump at these events, and they were people who were invited. You couldn't just attend these events as you can attend Trump rallies. Literally, Trump raised $5 million from one person. One person. I want to remind you that Michael Knowles is claiming that Trump's ability to raise $15 million in California reflects this populist uprising in California from the silent majority. That's just not true. That's just not true. Not only is this a flat out lie, but this shows us how much Michael Knowles is okay with dark money. I want to clarify that dark money used to be a thing before Citizens United, where people could donate to candidates while being able to hide their donations from the public. As many of you know, money in politics is the current issue. It's the current major issue, which is a byproduct of Citizens United. Basically, people could donate however much money they would want for any candidate, and nobody would be able to know about who donated what. After Citizens United, people and companies could donate as much money as they wanted, but those donations would be publicized. Now, let me clarify. Money in politics is the root of all evil in Congress right now. Citizens United didn't make anything better at all. They probably made things worse, to be honest. I mean, dark money is bad, but it's still really bad that the Supreme Court ruled in a terrible way, in a terrible fashion. Congress still has an approval rating of like negative 3,000%, but at least we can track a candidate's donors. I mean, that's a low bar. That's like the smallest step that you could possibly make toward the right direction. Michael Knowles is basically saying that he's cool with not being genuine with who's donated to who. Michael is cool with portraying Trump as this populist in California when he is literally going to the richest parts and raising huge sums of money from an extremely small number of people. Dude, that's fucked up. That's fucked up, dude. That's fucked up. That's lower than corporate media news outlets that praise like Nancy Pelosi for her ability to raise large sums of money. Like, at least corporate media news outlets don't pretend that Nancy Pelosi is making money from millions of donors. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. They might falsely pretend that Nancy Pelosi is popular, but that's not as bad as convincing the audience that Nancy Pelosi's ability to raise large sums of money reflects her popularity. That would be crazy and insane. That bullcrap is way too obvious for Americans. It's not obvious, though, Michael, when you decide to not tell your audience about these fundraisers. You decided to not say the important piece of the story. Your audience deserves to hear at least they deserve to hear why you decided to not explain that part. Once again, I have exploited the mass amount of hypocrisy from the masters of virtue signaling at the Daily Wire. Why don't you find a real job, Michael? Maybe you should consider, selling watches, considering that's the only thing you know how to do well on your show.